My daughter made an insulting comment about my room, so I took her inheritance. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. I never thought I'd hear my own daughter call my bedroom pathetic, but the words cut deeper than she could imagine. That moment changed everything, because if she thought so little of me, she had no idea how much power I still held over her future. It happened on a quiet Sunday afternoon. She had stopped by the house, something she rarely did since moving into her new apartment downtown. She walked through the door with that same sharp click of her designer heels, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. Her voice was clipped, rushed, like she was doing me a favor by being here. When she wandered down the hallway and pushed open my bedroom door, she paused, gave a little laugh, and said, "Wow, this is so sad. Don't you ever think of redecorating? It's just pathetic." Pathetic. From my own daughter. I stared at her, words stuck in my throat. This was the room where I had cried after her father passed, where I had stayed up nights worrying about her college tuition, where I had folded her laundry on the bed because she was too busy to do it herself. To her, it was nothing but outdated wallpaper and an old wooden dresser. To me, it was my home, my life, my heart. She kept talking, laughing even. "Honestly, Mom, no wonder you've never remarried. Who could live like this?" That one stung worse than the first. I wanted to remind her that the inheritance she was so sure would one day be hers came from this very house. From my sacrifices. From my refusal to live lavishly so that she could have every opportunity. But instead, I bit my tongue and let her prattle on, each word slicing deeper into me. When she finally left, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the floral wallpaper she found so laughable. My hands trembled, but not from weakness, from rage. Because in that moment, a decision crystallized in me. If my daughter thought I was pathetic, then maybe it was time she learned that respect was not optional, and neither was her inheritance. And she would never see the lesson coming. Looking back, the insult about my bedroom wasn't born in a vacuum. The seeds of arrogance had been planted long before that Sunday afternoon. My daughter had always been clever, ambitious, and quick with her words, but somewhere along the way, confidence hardened into entitlement. It started small. At family dinners, she'd scoff at the meals I cooked. "Mom, nobody eats casseroles anymore," she'd say, scrolling through her phone, barely looking at me. When I'd remind her of the nights I worked 2 jobs just to put food on the table, she'd roll her eyes as if sacrifice was something embarrassing, something only small people talked about. Her new friends didn't help. After she graduated and got her first decent job, she surrounded herself with people who measured worth by labels and lifestyles. She began comparing everything I had, my clothes, my house, even my friends, to theirs. "Why don't you upgrade, Mom? You deserve better than this. Or at least I do when I visit." She always laughed afterward, but it wasn't a joke. I told myself it was just youth, just her trying to find her place in the world. But then she began treating me less like a mother and more like an obstacle. When I offered advice, she dismissed it. When I expressed worry, she snapped that I was dragging her down. The inheritance became her unspoken safety net. She knew the house was paid off. She knew I had savings tucked away. And she behaved as though her future was already secured, no matter how little respect she showed. That night, after the pathetic bedroom comment, I sat in the living room and replayed years of slights. Every eye roll, every condescending laugh, every time she introduced me to her friends with a nervous laugh, as though I were something to be excused. And I realized something that chilled me. She didn't see me as a person anymore. She saw me as a wallet. Which meant she had forgotten the one truth that could shatter her world in an instant. Wallets can close. And mine was about to. The next time my daughter came over, I was ready. I had spent nights replaying her words, pathetic, sad, outdated, until they no longer hurt, but hardened into resolve. Something in me had shifted. I wasn't just her aging mother, quietly swallowing insults. I was the one who had built this life, brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice. And it was time she remembered that. She breezed into the house with her usual air of superiority, dropping her handbag on the counter without a glance. "Mom, you really should think about selling this place," she said casually, glancing around the living room. "It's so stuck in time. You'd make a fortune, and I could help you find something modern, smaller, easier to manage." I almost laughed. I knew exactly what she meant. Sell the house, hand over the money, shrink my life so hers could grow bigger. Funny, I replied, my voice calm but sharp. You speak as if this house already belongs to you. Her smile faltered for a second. Well, someday it will, won't it? I looked her straight in the eye. That depends. Her brows furrowed. Depends on what? On whether you remember what family is about, I said quietly. Respect, gratitude, love, things I don't see much of in you these days. She scoffed, brushing her hair back. Oh, Mom, don't be so dramatic. You know I love you. I just want better for you. But her words were empty, rehearsed. I'd heard that same hollow reassurance before, always after an insult, always after she'd crossed a line. This time, I didn't let it pass. You think I'm pathetic? Fine. But pathetic people don't hand over their life's work to children who sneer at them. If you want what I have, you'd better start showing me you deserve it. Her face froze, then hardened. For the first time, I saw a flicker of fear behind her arrogance. And that's when I knew. She finally understood that her inheritance was not untouchable. It didn't take long for the mask to slip. A week after our tense exchange, my daughter showed up again, this time without her polite smile. She stormed into the kitchen, slammed her phone on the counter, and glared at me like I was the enemy. Do you have any idea how ridiculous you sounded last time? She snapped. Talking about respect like you're some queen on a throne. You should be grateful I even come around. Her words stung, but I stayed still, holding her gaze. Grateful, I repeated slowly. Yes, she hissed. Do you know how embarrassing it is to bring friends here? This house, your clothes, even the way you talk, it's all so dated. People think I come from nothing. I've had to work twice as hard to prove I'm better than this. My chest tightened. Better than this? Better than me? I stood quietly for a moment, fighting the urge to shout. Then I said, You've forgotten who gave you everything you have. Every opportunity, every open door, that came from me. From this house, from my sacrifices. She rolled her eyes. Oh, please, don't act like you're some martyr. You did what any parent would. And anyway, her lips curled into a smirk. It doesn't really matter what you think. At the end of the day, all of this will be mine. There it was. Naked entitlement. Not even hidden behind laughter this time. Just cold, ugly truth. Something inside me hardened like stone. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. No, it won't. Not unless you change. You've treated me like trash, mocked the life I built, and now you think you can insult me and still inherit everything? That's not how it works. For the first time, her arrogance cracked. She froze, her smirk faltering. You wouldn't actually take it away. You wouldn't dare. I let the silence answer for me. Her face twisted, caught between rage and fear. And that's when I realized. She had finally seen me not as the weak, outdated parent she mocked, but as the one person who could rewrite her future with the stroke of a pen. The silence between us stretched like a wire pulled tight, ready to snap. Then, my daughter leaned back against the counter, arms crossed, her eyes burning with defiance. You wouldn't dare change the will, she said, her tone low and venomous. You've been talking about leaving me this house my whole life. Do you have any idea what it would look like if you suddenly cut me out? People would think you'd lost your mind. Her words were sharp, but underneath them, I heard it, fear. Let them think what they want, I replied. I don't owe anyone an explanation, least of all you. She narrowed her eyes. Careful, Mom. You don't want to make me your enemy. A chill ran down my spine, not because I feared her, but because I realized just how far she was willing to go. My little girl, the one I had once rocked to sleep, was now standing in front of me as a stranger, threatening me for control of something that wasn't even hers yet. You already made yourself my enemy, I said softly. The moment you stopped seeing me as your mother and started seeing me as a bank account. Her face twisted, but she quickly masked it with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Fine, play your little power games. But remember this, I don't need you to look good. I don't need you to be proud of me. I just need what's mine. And I'll get it, one way or another. Then she grabbed her phone, snatched her bag off the counter, and stormed out the front door. The slam echoed through the house, shaking the very walls she assumed she'd inherit. I stood alone in the kitchen, my hands trembling, my chest heavy with a mix of heartbreak and fury. This wasn't just disrespect anymore, it was war. And if she wanted to test how ruthless I could be, she was about to find out. Because I was done warning her. The next step would be action. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my so-called pathetic bedroom, staring at the ceiling while her words replayed in my head like a cruel lullaby. You don't want to make me your enemy. I'll get what's mine one way or another. The anger boiled, but underneath it was something worse, grief. This was my daughter. The baby I'd carried, the child I'd sacrificed everything for. And now she looked at me not with love, not even with indifference, but with entitlement so poisonous it had eaten away whatever bond we once had. By morning, my decision was clear. If respect couldn't be taught with patience or kindness, then it would be taught with consequences. I opened the desk drawer in the study and pulled out a folder I hadn't touched in years. Inside were the documents. My will, drafted when she was still a teenager. Back then, everything had been simple. My estate, the house, the savings, all to her. No questions asked. I sat at the desk, staring at the pages. Every line now felt like a dagger pointed at my own chest. I had created a monster by promising her a fortune without asking for anything in return. And monsters, I realized, don't grow grateful, they grow hungrier. With shaking hands, I picked up the phone and called my lawyer. Margaret, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I need to make changes to my will. Urgently. She paused, surprised. Of course. Do you know what you'd like to change? Yes, I whispered. Everything. I hung up, my heart pounding. For the first time in years, I felt control seeping back into my bones. I wasn't just her safety net anymore. I was the gatekeeper of her future. And I had finally remembered something she never imagined I would. Gates can be locked. But even as I set the appointment, a shadow of doubt lingered. Could I really do it? Could I truly take everything away from my only child? The slam of last night's door echoed in my mind, and the answer came cold and clear. Yes. Margaret's office smelled faintly of leather and paper, serious, old world, the kind of place where decisions couldn't be undone once spoken aloud. She looked at me over her glasses, her expression calm but probing. You're certain about this? She asked as I slid the old will across her desk. It's a significant change. Removing your daughter as sole beneficiary will not go unnoticed. I forced a steady breath. I'm certain. She's changed. She's not the same person I raised. Margaret nodded slowly, flipping through the pages. You wouldn't be the first parent to rethink an inheritance. But I need to warn you. Sometimes, this escalates family conflict to dangerous levels. I stiffened. Dangerous? Money brings out the worst in people, she said, her tone matter of fact. Once it's clear she isn't guaranteed this estate, she may lash out, challenge the will, pressure you, possibly even try to declare you unfit. Her words stung because I knew they weren't paranoia. My daughter's arrogance was already curdling into something sharper. She had threatened me, mocked me, reduced me to nothing in her eyes. What would she do when she realized I could actually cut her off? Margaret leaned forward, her eyes firm. If you do this, you must be prepared for battle. A legal one, an emotional one, maybe both. You'll need evidence, documentation of her behavior, proof that your decision was rational, not impulsive. I sat back, the weight of her words pressing down on me. Proof, evidence, as if I needed paperwork to justify a lifetime of disrespect and humiliation. Still, I understood. If this became war, I couldn't fight with emotion alone. I've lived in her shadow long enough, I said quietly. If she wants a fight, she'll get one. But I won't let her think she can bully me into handing her my life's work. Margaret gave a thin smile and began drafting the new papers. But as her pen scratched against the page, a shiver ran through me. For the first time, the inheritance was no longer a promise. It was a weapon. And weapons always draw blood. I thought I had more time. I thought I could put the pieces in place, finish the paperwork, and reveal the truth on my own terms. But arrogance has a way of sniffing out secrets, and my daughter was nothing if not arrogant. It happened on a Thursday evening. I had just returned from Margaret's office, the draft of my new will tucked neatly into my bag. I hadn't even poured myself a cup of tea when the front door flew open, and my daughter stormed in like a hurricane. You went to a lawyer? She barked, her eyes blazing. My stomach dropped. How do you know that? She slammed her phone onto the table, the screen glowing with a message thread. Do you forget I still have friends in town? One of them saw you leaving Margaret's office. You think I wouldn't find out? I clenched my jaw, trying to keep calm. Yes, I want to see her. And yes, I'm making changes. Her laugh was sharp, almost cruel. You can't be serious. You'd throw away your own daughter's future over what? A few harsh words? Grow up, Mom. I felt the rage bubbling, but I kept my voice steady. It's not about words. It's about years of disrespect. Years of treating me like I'm beneath you. I won't reward cruelty with comfort. Her face twisted, and she stepped closer, her voice dropping into a hiss. If you go through with this, I'll fight you. I'll drag you into court, and I'll tell everyone you're senile, unstable, whatever it takes. You think anyone will believe a bitter old woman over me? For a moment, her words knocked the breath out of me. My own daughter threatening to smear my name, to erase my dignity for money that wasn't even hers yet. But then, something inside me hardened. I picked up my bag, pulled out the draft, and held it up between us. This is your warning, I said coldly. Push me again, and it won't just be a draft. It'll be law. She stared at me, stunned into silence. Then, with a growl, she snatched her phone and stormed out, the door rattling on its hinges behind her. My hands were trembling, but my decision was solid. She had declared war, and I had just shown her I was armed. It didn't take long for her threats to become reality. Within a week, whispers started circling back to me. Neighbors, old friends, even the cashier at the grocery store looked at me differently, pityingly, cautiously. At first, I didn't understand why. Then I saw it. A social media post my daughter had written, dripping with poison disguised as concern. It breaks my heart to watch my mom decline like this. She's not the same woman she used to be. Forgetful, paranoid, making rash decisions. I just want what's best for her, but she won't listen. Please keep her in your prayers. Hundreds of likes. Dozens of comments. People sympathizing with her. People offering support. And worst of all, people believing her. I sat in my living room, the phone trembling in my hands, tears blurring my vision. Decline? Forgetful? Paranoid? The cruelty of it made my chest ache. The phone rang that evening. It was an old friend, her voice hesitant. I don't mean to pry, but is everything okay? I heard you're struggling. Struggling. That was her word. My daughter had turned me into a fragile, senile woman in the eyes of the world, just to tighten her grip on money she hadn't earned. Rage burned through me, hotter than ever. She thought humiliation would scare me back into silence, into compliance. She thought her lies could break me, but she had underestimated the woman who raised her. I began writing everything down, dates, words, screenshots of her posts, voicemails where her voice dripped with venom. If she wanted a battle in the court of public opinion, then I would fight her with truth. The next morning, I walked past the mirror in the hallway. For the first time in years, I didn't see a tired, aging parent. I saw someone sharpening into steel, and I whispered to myself, if she wants war, she's about to lose more than an inheritance. She's about to lose me. For days, I watched her lies spread like wildfire. Every post painted me as fragile, unstable, incapable of making sound decisions. The comments grew uglier, feeding on each other like vultures. So sad when parents lose themselves. She should probably be in assisted living. Each word was a dagger, but instead of bleeding, I sharpened. If she wanted to fight publicly, then publicly she would see exactly who I was. I sat down at my kitchen table, opened my laptop, and began typing. My hands trembled, not with fear, but with fury laced with precision. I wrote not like a woman on the defensive, but like a mother reclaiming her voice. My daughter believes she can speak for me. She believes she can rewrite my story to suit her greed. Let me be clear. I am not declining, not unstable, and not senile. I am perfectly capable of making decisions she doesn't like. For years, I sacrificed everything so she could stand on her own 2 feet. But instead of gratitude, she has chosen mockery, disrespect, and lies. Respect is earned, not inherited. And if she thinks she is entitled to my estate, she's in for a harsh lesson. I hit post. The response was immediate. Friends I hadn't heard from in years reached out, not with pity, but with outrage on my behalf. We always knew you were strong. Good for you. She should be ashamed. My daughter called me within the hour, her voice shrill with rage. How dare you humiliate me like that? You made me look like a monster. I let her words hang in the air, then answered, calm and cold. You didn't need my help for that. You did it yourself. The silence on the other end was delicious. She hung up on me, but I knew this was only the beginning. She would not back down. She couldn't. She was too proud, too entitled. But neither would I. For the first time, I felt powerful, not because of money, not because of inheritance, but because I had finally stopped being afraid of losing her. She thought she could control me with shame. She was about to learn the weight of my resolve. It was only a matter of time before she escalated. Words weren't enough for her anymore. She needed leverage, proof that her lies carried weight. And she thought the law would give it to her. The letter came on a Tuesday morning, crisp and heavy in its cream-colored envelope. At first, I thought it was another bank statement, until I saw the return address, her lawyer's office. My stomach tightened as I unfolded the paper. Petition for guardianship due to concerns of diminished capacity. Guardianship. My own daughter was trying to declare me unfit to manage my own affairs. If she succeeded, she wouldn't just inherit one day. She'd control everything now. My bank accounts, my house, my choices. She wanted to reduce me to a prisoner in my own life. I read the accusations, each line more venomous than the last. Forgetful, impulsive, prone to paranoia. She'd twisted every argument we'd ever had into evidence. My refusal to redecorate became hoarding tendencies. My late-night calls to friends were confused episodes. Even my decision to change the will was painted as proof of my instability. I slammed the paper down, my hands shaking with rage. She wasn't just attacking my dignity anymore. She was trying to steal my freedom. That afternoon, I marched into Margaret's office, the letter clutched in my hand. My lawyer read it carefully, her brow furrowing deeper with every page. She's going for full control, Margaret said grimly. If the court believes this, she could win. Then we fight, I said firmly. I've kept records. Her messages, her threats, her public smear campaign. If she wants to drag me into court, I'll bring the truth with me. Margaret nodded. Good. Because once we respond, this won't be private anymore. It'll be public. Brutal. Are you ready for that? I took a deep breath. I wasn't ready to be insulted in my own home. I wasn't ready to be mocked for everything I sacrificed. But I survived that. I'm ready for this. As I left the office, the weight of the coming battle pressed against me. But so did something else, clarity. She wanted a courtroom war? Then a courtroom war she would get. The courthouse smelled faintly of old wood and cold marble, a place where truth and lies wrestled, but only one could stand. As I walked down the aisle toward the judge's bench, I felt every eye on me. Some pitted, some skeptical. My daughter, meanwhile, sat with her lawyer, perfectly poised, her lips curled in that smug smile she wore when she thought she'd already won. The judge glanced between us. This case concerns a petition for guardianship. The petitioner claims her mother is unable to manage her own affairs. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor, her lawyer said smoothly. My client only wants what's best for her mother. She's been acting erratically, making impulsive decisions, and could endanger herself financially if left unchecked. My daughter nodded along, tilting her head just enough to look like the picture of a concerned child. The performance was nauseating. When it was my turn, Margaret stood tall. Your Honor, we have ample evidence that this petition is not about concern but control. The respondent, she gestured to me, is fully capable. What we're dealing with is not diminished capacity, but an entitled daughter angry over changes to an inheritance. Gasps whispered through the courtroom. My daughter's face hardened, but she quickly forced it back into a mask of calm. Margaret then handed over a stack of exhibits, screenshots of her social media posts, text messages dripping with entitlement, even a recording of her threatening me the night she found out about the will. The judge skimmed the papers, his brow furrowed. These are serious allegations, he said, looking directly at my daughter. Her lawyer tried to object, but the damage was done. For the first time, I saw my daughter's confidence flicker. Her eyes darted to me, filled with a hatred so sharp it almost cut across the room. I sat taller, my voice steady as I addressed the judge. I may not live in a mansion or dress in designer clothes, but I am not unstable. I am not unfit. I am a mother who gave everything for a child who now calls me pathetic. Respect is not optional, Your Honor, and I will not be stripped of my dignity in the name of greed. The judge tapped his gavel lightly. We will reconvene after reviewing all evidence. Until then, temporary guardianship is denied. It was only a pause, not a victory. But as we left the courtroom, my daughter brushed past me and whispered, venom dripping from her tongue. This isn't over. I'll destroy you before I let you take this away. After the first hearing, the cracks spread quickly through the family. Secrets never stay buried when money is on the table, and my daughter made sure everyone knew about the battle. Cousins, aunts, uncles, people who hadn't called me in months suddenly wanted to check in. But their voices betrayed them. They weren't worried about me. They were circling like vultures, sniffing at the scent of inheritance. My sister called first. Listen, she began gently, too gently. Maybe you should reconsider. Family fights like this, they leave scars. Just give her what she wants. She's young, she's ambitious. Why ruin your relationship over money? Because it isn't about money, I snapped. It's about respect, something she lost a long time ago. There was silence on the other end, then a sigh. She told us you're confused these days. Forgetful. I wanted to hear from you directly, but you don't sound like yourself. Her words chilled me. My daughter's smear campaign wasn't just online anymore. It was infecting the people closest to me. By the weekend, the divide was obvious. Half the family whispered that my daughter was ungrateful, spoiled, and cruel. The other half bought her story, painting me as unstable and selfish. The house that had once been filled with family gatherings now sat heavy with silence. Phone calls replaced with cold distance. At Sunday dinner, only 2 chairs were filled, mine and my oldest friend, Helen, who'd come to support me. She set down her fork and said firmly, "You realize what she's doing, don't you? She's not just fighting for money. She's fighting to rewrite the story of who you are." Her words hit me like lightning. That's what stung most. Not the thought of losing money or property, but the thought of being remembered as weak, senile, irrelevant. I looked around at the empty chairs and made a decision. If my daughter wanted to drag the whole family into this war, then I would show them all exactly who I was. And the next move would not be quiet. I knew if I wanted to end this, I couldn't do it in whispers or behind closed doors. My daughter had dragged my name through the mud in front of everyone. Family, friends, strangers online. The only way to stop her was to strike where she felt safest, in public, with an audience. I asked Margaret to help me arrange a family meeting. Not a casual dinner, but a formal gathering, with every relative who had taken sides invited. The excuse was simple: clarity. People were tired of rumors, of choosing who to believe. I was ready to give them the truth. When the day came, I walked into the rented hall with my head high, dressed not in morning black or frumpy clothes, but in a sharp, elegant suit. My daughter was already there, whispering with cousins who'd bought her story. She smirked when she saw me, certain I was walking into an ambush. I waited until everyone was seated, then stepped to the center of the room. My hands trembled slightly, but my voice was clear. For weeks, you've heard lies about me, about my mind, my health, my ability to live my own life. You've heard I'm paranoid, unstable, confused. Those lies came from my own daughter. Gasps echoed around the room. My daughter's face flushed, but she smiled as if unfazed. "Mom, please. This isn't the place." I cut her off. "Oh, it is. Because today, I'm showing you all the truth." I lifted a folder from my bag and began passing out copies, screenshots of her posts, transcripts of her threats, even a voice recording where she hissed, "I'll destroy you before I let you take this away." The room fell silent as eyes scanned the pages. Murmurs rose, whispers sharp as knives. My daughter jumped to her feet, her voice trembling. "This is manipulation. She's twisting everything." But no one was listening. Her mask was slipping, the performance collapsing under the weight of her own words. I straightened my back. Respect is not inherited. It's earned. And you, my dear, have lost it, along with everything you thought was guaranteed. I looked directly at her, letting the silence swallow her protests. And for the first time, I saw fear, not arrogance, in her eyes. The hall was still buzzing with murmurs when I reached into my bag once more. This time, I pulled out a single sealed envelope and held it high for everyone to see. "This," I said firmly, "is my new will. Signed. Legal. Binding." Gasps rippled across the room. My daughter froze, her eyes widening as if the floor had just cracked open beneath her. "I want everyone here to understand something," I continued, my voice steady. "Inheritance is not a birthright. It is a responsibility, a reflection of respect, gratitude, and love. And when those things are absent, so too is the reward." I turned to face her directly. "For years, You treated me like an obstacle, like a burden. You mocked my home, my life, my sacrifices. You thought my worth ended the moment you outgrew my protection. But you forgot one simple truth. Everything you take for granted exists because of me. She shook her head violently, her voice breaking. You can't do this. I'm your daughter. I am your mother, I said coldly. And a mother deserves respect, not mockery. I placed the envelope on the table. The inheritance you thought was yours is gone. I've chosen to leave this house and my estate elsewhere, to causes, to people, to anyone who understands value. You are not entitled to my life's work simply because you share my blood. The silence that followed was suffocating. She staggered back, her face pale, her mouth opening and closing as if words had abandoned her. Relatives shifted in their seats, avoiding her eyes. The empire of entitlement she had built crumbled in real time, brick by brick. For the first time in years, I felt light, free, not because I had punished her, but because I had reclaimed myself. I turned toward the door, my voice the last sound to fill the stunned room. Respect is worth more than money, and I will no longer buy yours. With that, I walked away, out of the hall, out of her shadow, and into the peace I had long denied myself. The inheritance was gone, but what I had gained was worth far more, my dignity.